Member Donahue?
Here.
Member Pats?
Here.
Member Effelt?
Here.
Member Asher is excused. Member Atkin?
Here.
Member Collins?
Here.
Member Davis?
Here.
Member Kent is excused. Member Martinez?
Here.
Member Merriam?
Okay, next item. Approval of the...
No public comment.
Oh, sorry. Public comment. Seeing none? Approval of the May 26th.
I have one correction. I would just like to correct the spelling of my name.
Yeah, really.
So picky.
Yeah. And I'll second it.
Okay, with correction? All those opposed? Seeing none? Action items. 4.1, dedication plaque and lobby monitor dedication content for the Emeryville Center for Community Life.
Why don't you move around so you can see the screen?
Oh, the TV's back.
It's 300 pounds. When we move that thing, it's not fun. Yeah.
300 pounds is a lot lighter than people think.
Good evening. This is our third discussion of the dedication plaque and information at ECCL. I just want to point out that I have been working with Brittany Collins-Rogers and Ruth Atkin, who are the committee members, about this over the last several weeks to discuss options and ideas. And so tonight is a report. And also, it is noted on the agenda as an action item. I think there are some actions to take in regard to a physical plaque versus the content in the monitor in the lobby. Again, now I'm calling it dedication media. A committee was formed again with Ruth and Brittany 2 city schools meetings ago. We discussed options. The proposal was a simple plaque for the dedication as well as a visual dedication, project background, community
Mr. Baker,
engagement.
can you check the connections?
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's going in and out.
It might be loose.
Keeps flashing the screen.
Maybe check the other side in the TV.
Oh.
Still going.
It's good. I need a psychologist. So if you know any school settings, they'll like some school settings. Yeah. Works for a little while, but
The logo itself is the same. It's just the font and the...
half of your time.
Emeryville.
Where's if your school site get like
That hasn't changed. It's the same.
All right, apologies for the technical difficulties. Again, at 2 city schools meetings ago, the group, what was discussed were 2 things: a simple plaque, a physical plaque, and also a visual display in the lobby. And the idea is the visual display in the lobby would allow for a larger community to be acknowledged. Again, just an orientation, the location of between buildings A and B is what's called the Community Plaza. And Building B, which is the Joint City District Administration Building, is this building here, which is to the south of that plaza. This is a diagram of the lobby. Along the back wall as you walk in the front doors, beyond the reception desk to the next to the elevator is a large monitor, which is 70 inches diagonal, about 6 feet, which is shown here to get an idea of size. Here's an old construction photo that shows kind of where that is and what the size is. Dr. Budo, the size of these?
About 82-inch diagonal.
So it's not quite as large as this.
Almost.
We've discussed with district and city, with city IT about what kind of software and format we may use. What was recommended us was to do a PowerPoint, which could be on a loop, which would run continuously. What we're talking about them now is doing it so that it can be a split screen. The intent of that monitor originally was to be a bulletin board, if you will, for city activities such as swim lessons, things in the community center, things of that nature. So the idea is you could have that be a static image on one side, have a more active image of the dedication information. That monitor right now is networked with the district computer system and would be controlled at the front desk, although I don't know that we would change that. There was a discussion of video at the last city schools meeting. There were a few comments from some people with concern about video in the lobby, being that that's an active place of business where you'll have a reception desk, members of the community come in to ask for services, people on the telephone. So it was thought that maybe video would not be a good use of it. I mean, I'm sorry, sound. However, video would be able to be included in the display. So the comments that I had gotten following last city schools was sound wouldn't be a good idea, but video would be appropriate. We can discuss that here this evening. Our next step is to determine how we're going to produce this. We can work with the architect to do some graphic display as well as possibly some other consultants. But our task at hand right now is really to develop the content and have there be consensus on what the content of the video display is. The ideas that Ruth and Brittany and I have discussed are the following. A message of thanking the voters for Measure J passage, the project goals and mission, mentioning council and board members throughout the history of the project, which could be from inception till today, and there are various formats we can use for that. Other elected officials, there are a number of elected officials that had, at the state level, had a role in approval of the project. The Citizens Oversight Committee, of course, administration of both the city and the district, city manager's office, superintendent's office, and those individuals, the project team, contractor, architect, consultants. Very importantly, which is one of the impetuses behind this, is a demonstration of the community engagement during the programming, design, and construction process. This runs the gamut from the community workshops, which the design team had, all the way to the construction outreach that the construction team had in the community, to the local contractors, labor unions, et cetera, who have been involved in the project. So that whole broader subject. The design approach, which is something the architects could put forth into describing the approach, why ECCL is designed the way it is. There is a construction progress video which shows a time lapse of the complex being built, which is a lot of people were very interested at the community meeting that the city held in the gym in April. We could, because we have the dedication on September 1st, have the invitees to the ribbon cutting, the dignitaries will be involved. That could be a temporary thing. And then we'd like to discuss other ideas. So the task at hand in regard to the monitor for the month of July is to develop the content, what this will look like and what we'll show. We want to have a discussion about that tonight. The concept which Brittany and Ruth and I have talked about is preparing a draft for review at the next city schools meeting in August, so that could be perhaps approved at that time. One benefit of this media is that we can make revisions up till the day before if we need to. But these are the sorts of things we've talked about. There were a lot of good input in terms of what resources are available, photographs of community engagement meetings, things like that. We have a lot of options, but we'd like to organize it, and these are the sorts of things that Ruth and Brittany and I have discussed. The timeline for the monitor, we want to compile the content by the end of this month, prepare the graphics and software in August. We'd like at some point the city schools, or the thought is that the city schools committee would review it at some point in August, at the August meeting, so that it's ready to show at the September 1st ribbon cutting. Now, there was also discussion of the physical plaque, which had been agreed to at the last city schools meeting. I know that there's a desire to discuss that tonight. Just as a reminder, that's a 4 to 6 week design and fabrication time, which means we really need to make that decision now to get that done so we know it can be installed August 1st. the architects have volunteered to offer their design expertise with the graphics on the rest of the campus. We want to install it in August, so it's there for September 1st. But I know there is a desire to discuss the physical plaque this evening. The discussions that Brittany and Ruth and I have had recently have been in regard to the content for the monitor, since there's some gathering of information which needs to take place, so that can be put together. And with that, I'd like to open the discussion to the group.
Well, no, if anything, I think you really, thank you, Brittany and Ruth, and certainly you, John. This is a really good plan. I particularly like the focus that you're not going to have sound on the display, but I think it's important that we caption what is on the screen so people see what understand what they're looking at. And captioning should be a way to go. It doesn't have to be obtrusive, but I really appreciate the fact that that's going to be a very busy space. We do not need to add sound to it. And the other thing is, I would think that because all the way along we've had, fortunately, a video of many of the community meetings, many of the things in progress, that this is a matter of compilation for the most part, rather than originating stuff. So it's a matter of compilation and editing, but still, it's a very short time frame. So I commend you, and I'm really a big fan of captions.
It seems like a natural time loop might be 5 minutes maximum. That's my take on someone's waiting in the lobby, they're interested, but more than 5 minutes, I think, would be
Yeah.
to perceive it in some other venue.
Yeah, we'll go on to the activities by which brought them into the building to begin with.
Is there a cost associated with compiling the video?
The architectural team and Swinnerton have volunteered to put it together to the extent it can be in a PowerPoint. We had a discussion, the three of us, whether we would want to hire a professional consultant to produce it, which is an option. The time frame is short to do that, but those folks are available, and I think that can be procured fairly quickly. It depends on what level of production value, I suppose, that the group would like to have.
Well, who is making the editorial decisions?
One of
There's
the
a lot of cutting and splicing.
Yeah,
and
one of the discussions we're going to have
ordering.
tonight was exactly how we were to do that. My understanding of the committee with the board and council member, the board member and council member, was that there's some delegation of choosing content, and one way to proceed would be for the city schools committee to delegate to the committee, coming up with a draft content that could be then reviewed by the city schools group in August. I'm not sure how the group wants to proceed, but that's one way of expediting this. But that's something for discussion.
Yeah, but even if we get something on paper, someone's got to actually, cut the meeting of the public and decide how long it's going to be, and that's going to go immediately in front. I mean, it really gets down to a fair amount of work. It seems like we need someone who's, a consultant or skilled at that kind of editing, unless it really is just going to be, look amateur, I would think.
Well, if I could say, I think it's important that we have someone who works with our videographers to tell them specifically what clips they want from the vast volume of material that they have over the period of the last 15 years. we have to be specific about what we want to focus on, what we want to show, whether it's a clip of a community meeting or a board meeting or council meeting. We can't just say, look in your archives. It's going to be much more helpful if we say, look for A, B, C, D. Am I making myself clear on
Yeah,
this?
I'm sorry, one question I've got in response to, Nora, your comment is, we've been here working on ECCL for 2 years, and we're not familiar with video clips or what have you that may exist over the course of the project. And one question is if who here is aware of where those might be located, how we find them?
Actually, we want someone to sit down and talk with you and Dave, but we don't want to just go and say, open up your archives. We would ask for specific things. Would you agree with that, Brittany, Ruth? Ruth?
What's your question?
I don't know whether I could remember what it said.
Sit.
You know, as
Just
we
sit
look
outside.
back over the 15 years, we want to be able to take advantage of our videographers,
Right.
but we don't want to just say, hey, you know, let us look through all your files. We want this file on
Right.
this
No,
community meeting,
I
this,
caught that.
5 or 6, no more than that.
Yeah.
And then see what Dave and you can come up with.
I think that's, Jim, is that good enough direction?
Yeah, but is there like a person, you got a designated person?
And does it
So I'm-
even so much have to be
So-
the meetings?
Well,
So I'm,
let's hash this out right now so that you have direction to take back. I think there's some.
So-
I think there's some videos of some of the community workshops. Definitely want to capture that. As is written here, the construction over time from, I know there's groundbreaking that happened. I think Nick Sebastian is another source of photographs from that day. I don't know if we want to do the topping off ceremony. That could be another kind of pivot point there. But I think just those things, and Juliet, I don't know if you want to add to any other stuff. I don't know if there's video of some of the youth-oriented activities that happened within the school department, like school district, like presentation of the Y plan, and this was before your time, John, but if there's any video documentation of the youth engagement activities in particular, we should include one of those.
I think we can talk to Mr. Burns in regards to stuff that's a little bit more recent in the last 5 years. Mr. Burns has been with the district, but we can also track with some other folks that were in the district at the time during those
So-
years.
I think there are at least three roles that we keep sort of combining into different things. We need somebody to have a script, some sort of idea of what the narrative is, whether it's, time or thematic or something else. And then we need somebody to be the director or auteur of the project. And then I think we have in-house editors who can put that all together. But I think to go back to what Member Affelt said, I think that's kind of where we need to decide is who's going to be writing that script and directing it, more so than throwing out all the ideas. But I feel like that single entity or entities, and I look to Mayor Martinez because I suspect she might know more about this than I.
I have experience writing these scripts and putting those ideas together. Where I am lacking is in the background information of how the project came together. So I wouldn't feel confident doing that, but you're absolutely right. Generally, for a project like this, you put together a script. I would say for a 5-minute script, it might be 5 pages, where you have the images in a left-hand column, and I appreciate the idea of captions. Those would be in the right-hand column, normally where the audio would go, but it's a story. We're telling the story of ECCL. What is ECCL? What's the inception? What were all the hurdles crossed to get there? What brings us to today? So yes, that I think everyone's coalescing into the work that needs to be done, but agreed, it needs to begin with a script. I think these are great content ideas. Okay, that's correct. I'm not sure where to go from there. And you said there were editors in-house. Who was actually edit? Because Mr. Baker alluded to PowerPoint, but who would actually edit footage together in your mind?
In my mind, that's not
Yes.
where we want to go. I was seeing a lot of motion by the videographers here this evening that they would be interested in. You know, it's their tapes, it's their
Mhm.
archive. I felt like they had good knowledge of how to piece it together.
Oh,
I've seen
they have. They have
I've seen the
editing
work they've
equipment,
done.
and
That's
they
really
they
good.
know how to craft a story even without a script, and I've
So-
seen evidence of that. So
Yeah, so that was where I was going.
they were there. So if they're
Yeah.
involved, you know, you could throw the script out the window. However, most people
think they'd
appreciate
prefer
a
a
script.
script.
Yes.
So can our subcommittee get together with our videographers, including Dave?
Carolyn,
Is that possible? We have a very short timeline here.
Yeah.
We're talking next week.
Carolyn,
I would suggest that I reach out to Cindy Montero. She is, although she is doing a lot of work from home, that should not be a problem. She certainly has been following this project, very involved with it, and she and I can, you know, and I can make sure that she works with you, Diane. Certainly there needs to be, I would assume that the committee would still be involved regarding content and
We're not the right
Review.
ones to write the script.
no, but I think we have a volunteer with Diane, and Cindy can work with you.
If
to
I've
look
got
at
Cindy to work
content.
with me, then
Yeah,
I
I
could
think
definitely
we're-
pull that off.
I think we're good there.
And I would like, if you'd be open to it, I'd love for you
Yeah.
you to look at it.
I would like to see a draft.
Yeah.
Then we have to think about timing, because September 1st is almost upon us. So can you pull together something like this by the end of next week?
Next week is good for me. Do you know if Cindy would be available
Rough
to?
draft.
Wow, that's, what about you gentlemen?
Well, this is for the script,
Oh,
so they,
just the
yeah.
script?
Hmm.
Oh, okay. Sure, she would make herself available to, you know.
Start to look through what we have,
Mhm.
things we shot, the groundbreaking, I guess.
But you don't want a global search. I think you really want to have them target specific items.
Yeah, generally,
Not a
yeah.
global search. You guys have a lot of film.
But the way I've worked in the
That's not-
past
that's
is just
groundbreaking.
writing out the fantasy script, and then you guys take a look at it and
Yes.
say, this is what we've got that could cover these ideas, and then we figure out
Right.
how to bridge those gaps if we have them.
And also cost. Each of the agencies do have a contract with Second Sight. And so I assume that we would simply divide up the cost, but I don't know, you know, if we could get an estimate for this approximately 5-minute video, that would be good
PowerPoint.
too.
Not a
I'm
video.
sorry, PowerPoint.
I do want to say that I appreciate the suggestion of something other than PowerPoint. That was brought up by the IT folks, and I think if there's something more sophisticated, that would be great. We do have a small amount in the budget for events and presentations and things of that nature, so we do have some dollars that we've earmarked for things of this nature. But I'd be curious to find, not being an expert in this field myself, what sorts of things can be done relatively quickly, but could have good presentation value and things like that.
The beauty of this whole idea is it's not written in stone, that it's, even when it goes up there on September 1st, it's still a work in progress. It could be changed and adapted, and that's the real beauty of this.
Diane.
So I have a question about the aspect ratio of the screen. Is it that it's a normal widescreen monitor and it's going to be bisected and one half is going to have
What
events?
I'm told is that you can do a presentation split screen. I'm not sure with what format but that's the IT folks said that can be done. It's a normal 16:9 aspect ratio. It's just a standard display monitor with the 70-inch diagonal. I'm not sure how that works and is laid out, but we have some resources to assist us in how that can be displayed like that.
Okay.
I will say this is that Pedro Jimenez is, you know, he's intended that monitor be used to display a calendar of city events, of recreation events, community events, et cetera. That's really what the original reason for that monitor to be there. We have increased the size to the largest size, which we're ordering for the project, to 70 inches, so that it can display more information. And there's a way to do a split screen. I'm not sure how the technology works.
That definitely affects just how how it's going to look, and so that's something that we need to know in advance when you're asked, especially if we're going to give this a second sight and have them edit a video, and we're asking them to take their widescreen content and then put it on half of a widescreen monitor, which would be half of that. So we're really using a quarter of the screen. So it's going to look odd. We're going to, you know, we might be working with some weird borders at the top. We need to know what's going to be on the other side to make sure it looks right. And then my other question is, what are people thinking, how long we're going to have this video up? Is this going to be in perpetuity? Is this going to be old news in 1 year, 6 months?
Yeah.
Yes?
I think the people who live and work and breathe in there will kind of know when it gets dated.
Yeah.
I don't think we can answer that today.
And we have the ability to change it as conditions change. But it's a
Yeah.
start, and
Yeah.
it gets us through the first couple of years.
Well, my suggestion would be to have a audio-video club at school and students managing some content.
Yeah, that's good.
That's how I got started producing.
Yeah. That's why we like the idea of the LCD monitor. That way you can kind of change it over time, because, I mean, in Emeryville, things do change, so we definitely want to make sure that we cover that in the basis of the content, but as well as, you know, not making sure that we miss out on anything or anybody at the same time. So we'll definitely try to make sure that we do take all of that into consideration when we do meet for the literature and the script.
Okay, moving along.
So it looks like we have a plan, but do we have a plan enough that the committee will have a time to meet? And
We
is there
come
enough
back
of a plan
September
to get
1st.
going, in other words, to the participants?
Can you pull a meeting together, Carolyn, with Cindy and the committee and Diane
Sure.
next week?
I
That's
would
good.
think so.
Certainly Cindy and myself, and we can go by email or whatever's the most convenient for
I'm
you
available
folks.
Wednesday.
Thank you for taking that on.
And committee members will be available in the next
Yeah.
week or so?
Yeah, sure. Thank you for taking that on, Diane.
No problem.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
Do we need,
I just want to, oh, go ahead. If we're-
do
I
you
had-
need more direction on the plaque itself?
That was my question. yeah.
Well, we haven't seen it yet.
And there's the deer and headlight books.
There's no, I can pull up I did not include in this, the image of the plaque that we had last week. I can pull that up, should we need to do that. That was approved at last city schools. My understanding is there was a timing issue that was going to be discussed this evening.
okay, let's see the image.
What's it
Okay, I need to go grab that. would need to come back with that, actually.
While you're grabbing it,
Actually, I might have
it
it.
was our understanding that the city you wanted to bring up a timing issue. I think John Baker is referencing that there was a question regarding whether or not you're going to have the plaque installed or not. When we open.
You're looking at me.
Oh, I thought that was coming from the city. I thought we had heard there would be the city was bringing something.
There could be a question as to whether this group wants to move forward with having the plaque installed at the time or delay the plaque, perhaps in favor of focusing on the lobby production.
I don't have
There
any
may be
strong
certain
feelings if it's,
advantages in just waiting.
Well, what is the sense of the community? Does the committee want a plaque installed on September 1st so it can be part of the opening ceremony or not?
That would make a lot more sense to me.
I thought that was the plan.
Yeah, I thought it was
Makes
the plan
sense.
as well.
Makes sense to me.
So
I thought we
all
voted on
raise
that
our
last
hands
week.
Who wants September
Or
1st
last
for the
month.
plaque?
I thought we voted on that already.
I mean, is everybody in agreement here?
Well, we seemed like we did vote on it last time
Right.
we
Meeting.
met, as I remembered.
So we,
Yeah.
we did vote and approve it. My question is, and this is just a procedural one that I don't maybe understand, is my impression of this committee is it's strictly advisory, and that approval of that action would have to go back to both city and schools for their ratification. Am I incorrect in that?
Well, it was the intent that this committee be, when this committee was formed, it was the intent that this would be the one place where both public jurisdictions would get together to be able to make decisions that affected both jurisdictions, and that the staff people would get their direction from this committee. So I know some people consider this advisory, but I know that others of us really thought that this could have its own decision-making authority, because we are the school board, we are the city council. How can you be advisory to yourself? It's like you are the same people, and we are the same people. So how could I advise the city council when I'm a member of the city council? The idea of an advisory, linguistically, if not anything else, means somebody else has to advise a distinct and discrete person or entity. You can't advise yourself.
Well, not only that, it makes sense to me that we have a quorum for both council and school board right now, and it's a publicly noticed meeting.
I guess my confusion stems from the bold paragraph on the left-hand side of our agenda that says actions taken by advisory committees are not official actions of the city council and Emory School District and must be ratified by both entities. So either we can correct that language, or, and I understand what you mean by advising to yourself, but this is a bureaucracy. We do things like that all the time. So that's just that language there is pretty plain to me, and so that's where my confusion stems from.
I understand it's confusing,
Yeah.
having that there.
It's confusing,
Good
but it
point.
does not state that this is an advisory committee. It just says actions taken by an advisory committee.
So it's a joint meeting of the City of Emeryville Advisory Committee and Emory Unified School District Board of Trustees. So I think in our title it says that we're an advisory committee. So Carolyn?
I did pose this question to the city attorney from at least our perspective. And one thing, while one could discuss whether in fact it's advisory to yourselves, but one thing that I think that we can be certain of is that if you wanted to approve the plaque or the video or things such as that, it is of a very low level nature of expenditure, that it does not rise to requiring individual
Excellent.
Not like an MOU or
anyway.
a contract.
Correct, and
Excellent.
so it's within, in looking at the MOU, it certainly, these items would be no problem at all.
Okay, thank you.
We had majorities of both bodies approve the plaque.
Right.
If we went back to agendize it on our own agendas, separate agendas, unless there was a majority that somehow changed their minds, the outcome would be the same.
It's simply a procedural question. It was answered.
Okay.
And we've had both bodies separately approve the MOUs,
That's true.
Yes.
which authorizes these actions.
Looks good to me.
Well, we don't have,
We don't have
the
the,
logos
we don't have the logos.
are
We don't,
not there.
no, we don't have the font, a
We don't.
fancier font or whatever.
Yeah, we,
What was approved last city schools was this text, along with the logos of the city and the district.
Correct.
which that, ours is not, so whatever we do, don't use that. That's pretty far off. That's not our logo.
What's the
So-
new logo?
We're happy to provide it,
Okay,
John, this is our logo.
okay,
well-
sure.
but we'll provide you with the,
Transparent background versus the black background.
yeah, and it's
And the
also the
font.
font is incorrect.
But the,
Go ahead, you can speak.
so
On this mock-up, the font is the same font as used on the signage elsewhere on the site.
The font of our city
But
logo.
the logo, right, the city logo, but we would, can certainly incorporate the city logo, the graphics, the city and district logo in place of where it says City of Emeryville and Emeryville Unified.
What's the size of the plaque?
None of that has been discussed. It was meant to be relatively small.
So if my last name changes in the next year, can I get a new plaque?
Because once you add the logos for each agency, and I'm not sure where they're gonna go, I assume on
It would-
each of the,
It would be Collins hyphen.
Can we have the hands? We have the hands kind of centered over the scoop and the city logo here.
That's cute. We're at the
I
bottom.
mean,
works.
anybody have a problem with that?
could we just, like, do it up with the logos incorporated and then just send it out to everybody to make their final? And just outside of, if anybody has a problem, to let us know, but I think we need to see the actual final before it
Right.
goes.
And I'll point out that battery-powered grinders can easily get rid of various names, whereas stainless steel would resist. Is the intent to have this in stainless steel or bronze?
The signage on the signage is stainless steel throughout the site, and so it's the font is Helvetica, which is similar to Arial, and it was meant to be stainless steel with raised letters.
Okay, well, that's informative.
Okay.
I have just a question, since I wasn't here at the last meeting, about the grammar. Is it on purpose that we don't have a period after Measure J
That
and
was
after
my question.
partnership?
The other two comments from the last meeting were to add periods at the end of
Ah.
Measure J and partnership.
Got it. All right, thank you.
John, would the logos themselves be in color?
They can be, anything's possible. Typically, again, the signage on site is all stainless steel, and so it doesn't have color. The logos could be in color, or they could be just in just raised relief.
Do people have a preference?
I think color makes sense.
Color would be good.
Color would be
I was
nice.
gonna go with the sleeker, just raised image, so it's cleaner, consistent, doesn't fade.
Nobody can scratch it off? Would that,
That's true.
Could that be a
But on
problem?
the other hand, look at the building with all these multiple colors.
It's
So, traditional dedication plaques are very nondescript, small, and kind of off to the side, generally in bronze. I think once we get away from that, it's become significantly about the dedication and not about the building. So, I'm just going to throw that out there, that these are traditionally things, I think I've said this before, I'm probably the only one who reads them in every building when I'm waiting around. So,
I think you're right.
yeah, you guys know where the dedication plaque is for this building?
Would you like to enlighten us?
It's in the hallway.
No, because I could be wrong. My building's mixed up, but it's right outside here.
Right.
Yeah, and it's bronze. It's a little bit larger than usual. So,
Do you want to just do a straw poll? Or-
Yeah, a straw poll, color, no color.
No color.
I say no color.
I say
That's
no
fine.
color.
Color.
That's fine.
Okay, no color.
I'm
Carries
good- I'm
the
good
day.
with
And
no
only
color.
because, I only say that because the school colors may not be in coordination with the plaque itself. And so no colors would probably just be a safe haven.
We have used blue throughout the, in the gym, for example. Blue is a common color because it's both in the city logo and a school color, for what that's worth.
Okay, it seems like we've decided
I
about
think
the
we're
plaque.
good, aren't we?
Yeah.
Is there any further discussion?
Mr.
John,
Baker,
if-
do you feel like you have enough direction?
In terms of size, since we should probably ask that question as well. What size? I'll go back to where the thought. We should probably also talk about location.
Stainless will be a little bit more.
The thought is that it would be outside of Building B. Building B is the one joint city district building. The main entry, you see that large glass window to the lobby? The main entry is at that door. The room to the left is the teen center. So the thought was that one of the two light-colored stucco walls to the left or right of that large two-story window might be an appropriate location. The width of that wall, one thing to point out is that what's not been built in this photograph is there's an entry canopy that butts up against the left-hand stucco wall to the left of that large window. And so perhaps to the right-hand side, that might be an appropriate location because it's the wall closest to the entry door. And again, that stucco band is 3 feet wide. So maybe some guidance from the group in terms of what size the plaque might be that would definitely be helpful.
These-
Typical letters for the smallest letter font is 1/4 inch that is readable for a lot of cast metal, unless you get some really expensive plaques. But a normal plaque, the smallest font would be, those would be 1/4 inch letters. So that would sort of, that's a small, that would proportionally determine what the smallest size of the plaque could be if the smallest letters were 1/4 inch. And 3/8 letters are readable at 5 feet. That's something else I know from experience. But you get further than that, you're starting to get into youthful eyes, really good eyes.
Well, I think between filmmakers and sculptors, the city council's really stepping up tonight. Is there, I had assumed it was going to be inside, somewhere in the lobby.
What had been
Like
discussed,
the
actually what had been
plaque.
discussed at the last meeting was a simple plaque with this content on the outside and then the video display on the inside.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I may have forgotten that, so.
Carolyn?
Yeah, if that's what people are comfortable with, that seems like the right spot.
Could we request that each agency get the actual size mock-up dropped off? One at the school, one at City Hall, and then that way I can let council members know we have it, and school board members can come by, and if they wish to see it, just as a final check. The readability, like you said, is very important.
Okay, that seems like a good suggestion to me.
I support that.
Mr. Baker, was there another location that the plaque could be placed in that would be reasonable to the eye as well as the atmosphere?
That's a great question. So what had been discussed at the past two city schools meetings, the community plaza, it's hardly to read the font, but between buildings A and B. Reason being that's the one truly public entrance to the project. The library plaza, which is to the left, is also public, but really specific to the library. And the thought was that the most public entrance of the project is between buildings A and B. In terms of options, Building A, this is the Building A side that faces that plaza. This is the community building, so there are also locations here. The other side, here's another view of the administration building, but it occurred to the project team in our discussions and also with the committee that either of these two, that this plaza and these two buildings made sense. There, you'll see some concrete walls there. Those are fairly low, though. The tallest one is 24 inches, so they're pretty low, and so that would be not as prominent, perhaps.
Is
Sometimes
that
you'll
in the
see.
courtyard?
This is one side of the courtyard,
Yeah.
and that's the other. So the San Pablo is to the left in this view and to the right in that view.
And there's not a sidewalk on the San Pablo side, right? There's landscaping?
No, there is a sidewalk all along San Pablo, actually. So in fact, if you look to the left of this photo, the wall you see returning back, that is the street wall along San Pablo. So there's a sidewalk all the way along there. There are, however, planters. There are the bioswale planters at the base of that wall that are about 2 feet wide, intermittently along that wall. So you can't really walk up against the wall, but it's about 2 feet back from the edge of that planter.
That's not too bad. Leave it where it's at.
We gonna plant anything tall in the planter?
The planting is all low
Kind of
planting
block.
that is part of the bioswale system, which provides a sustainable way to filter stormwater. So they're low shrubs is what they are, and the shrubs actually planted there are part of that filtration system.
Okay. I know the city has some very nice snake grass planted around their city hall. It's quite tall.
The architect is offering to help us with this. Wouldn't he be the best person to sort of determine location?
Yeah, the location we discussed with DSK where you would put it, and the place that they liked also was to the right of the doors of that 2-story window.
So I
Down
don't
at
see a reason to
a location like this.
spend a lot of time trying to find a better location. Do other council members feel that way?
Yeah, I think we should rely on the architect.
Yeah.
So I
It
think
was
we,
just a question to see
Yep.
if we had any other spaces other than that. It seems to be fine. That way the public can see it and those who enter in and out of the building can see it as well.
perfect.
Do you have the direction you need, Mr. Baker?
I do. What we'll do is we'll facilitate a mock-up using the logos with no color, correct? We'll get full size of those printed out. I believe we can get that within 1 week to both the city and the district, the city and the district for review. And I will confirm also to the committee, to the group, the timeline for fabrication.
So when you say 1 week, by next Thursday, Carolyn and John will have
The mock-up.
next Thursday. Look in your mailbox.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Okay,
Baker.
thank you.
Um,
Information
Mr. Baker.
items.
I'm sorry, I have a request if you don't mind. Is it possible, I didn't anticipate this first item going quite this long, and I have other members of the community coming in this evening for a parcel tax committee meeting later tonight. Could we possibly do 5.4 and 5.5 next? I know we have other people here in the room. I apologize. I'm just getting a little nervous about making sure I can be in both places at once.
Do we have members of the public who are here for those 2 items?
I'm curious to hear 5.4.
And that's the one I wanted to make sure I was present for, if possible.
Yep. Yeah, I want to hear that too.
Is that, may we move 5.4? John, Mr. Baker, you have a conflict as well.
I have a
think.
conflict also, so
You have the same request. I
in the
think.
interest of time, the ECCL update, which are photographs, I could do that very quickly. The banners, we could talk about that. Those are probably both 5-minute discussions.
Juliet probably wants to go.
Well, I have a group of people who are very integral to answering questions for you. This was the time that we were going to
For wellness.
information on the School Health Center in Rhodes. We have Alameda County and Michael here to introduce to you so that you know. If this needs to be postponed to another time, that's okay too. Because what we have to say is basically just updated information, but it's also to answer questions that were asked of us
have a suggestion. But I may not be in the room. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. The city manager and I thinking if we could at least move 5.4, and Mr. Baker, I know this doesn't help your schedule as much, but I'd appreciate if we could move to that item next.
Okay,
Well,
any objections?
Yeah, I kind of would like to hear from the people who've come out this evening and are
Yeah.
next on the agenda. So why don't we do them and then do the crossing guards?
That seems good to me. Anybody else have objection to that?
No.
We're going to be a little quicker, and we'll also come back and talk to you. The reason I brought out the people here is because we wanted to talk to you about a little bit about the school-based health center and some of the things that we're doing. We've gone from a planning meeting to an operational team, planning team to an operational team. One of the most exciting things that we wanted to report is we did receive $98,000 from Alameda County for the dental chairs. So they are going to be paid for. It has been approved, and it will be there. Hopefully, we're crossing our fingers. We did order it because took us a little time to get it. So those are one of the things that I wanted to report and let you know about what's happening. I'm going to bring up, let me do my introductions correctly. Kimi Sakashita is the Associate Director and has been working with us for school and community health services with Alameda County Healthcare Service Agency. She's opened 28, 29, 30, 29 health centers in Alameda County, school-based health center. We're number 29, okay? Tim Zeener-Davis is in charge of school-based health centers for Lifelong, which is the medical agency that we're working with. And Lynn Lee is going to be the person you'll see running around all the time working with us, and she's going to be in charge of the school-based health center. So first of all, I wanted to honor them and say welcome and thank you for coming out. Tim is going to give you just a little bit of information on what's going to be happening with the school-based health center, because a lot of stuff we're still planning and we're still working on the operations. So, Tim?
So thank you all for having us this evening. I just want to start off by saying that Lifelong is very excited to go into the next phase of this great partnership with the City of Emeryville and the Emeryville Unified School District. Just so you know, we're making progress. So right now we're looking, I just want to give you kind of an overview of what we're looking at in terms of services going into the year. So we are a licensed clinic that's licensed for 30 hours of service per week. And that just means that we can have our medical and dental providers provide 30 hours of service. The center itself, we'll start off, we're going to start off with what's called a soft opening. And so right now what we're looking at is Monday through Fridays, from 8:30 to 12:30, we will provide medical services to EUSD students only. And then on Wednesdays and Fridays, we will be providing dental from 8:30 to 5:30 for both EUSD students as well as all Emeryville community members. And again, this is a soft start, and we still haven't really worked out a lot of the kinks. But we think that it's super important that we start off by making sure that we get basic services in a groove first, and then we can build from that. We are also very aware of the students' concern about safety and confidentiality, and so we thought that dental is a service that is not as sensitive. And so as we're kind of introducing students, kind of crossing paths with community members, that seemed to be the best way of doing that. And that's also going to help us get an idea about what logistics of that look like, so that when we are open to the public or to the community for medical as well, we'll have a better idea about how to navigate all of that. So this is kind of new for us. Well, actually, it's not kind of new. It's very new for us because the two other centers that I oversee, we are strictly students, and we're also strictly pediatrics. So even the community members that we see are youth; they're not adults. And so we're We want to make sure that we're doing this the right way. We want to make sure that we are starting in a way that helps us address any issues that might arise. And again, we want to be very aware of the safety concerns that the students posed. And it is a tricky thing when we start getting into mixing student population with the community population. What does that look like? How do they intersect? How do they not intersect? And so that's where we are right now. And so we will definitely be keeping you posted as we get closer. Like I said, we're still trying to figure out scheduling things, but that's kind of the basic schedule that we're working with right now. Any questions? Any questions?
I'm glad we're all stretching here. We get to go to adults and. we just
Yeah,
do
yeah,
different
yeah.
things, So it's great.
Do you guys have a dentist lined up?
We are in the process of hiring a dentist now and a dental assistant. So that process is underway. Right now, we do actually have a pediatrics nurse practitioner that will be providing the medical services. But yeah, we're actually right now starting to recruit for a dentist.
So no, okay.
Yeah.
And then the second question I had is when you're looking at these 30 hours, one of the issues that came up at this last meeting is that it's really important that kids are in class during class time.
Absolutely.
And so are you going to be allowing for that time shift with, only 2 hours after school available? And how do you plan to schedule that?
So over the years, there's always been a struggle between time for students and missing class time. But I don't know if you're aware of how much class time kids miss from having dental pain or having to leave school to go to their doctor to take care of a chronic condition and things like that. So what we try to do with our school health centers is to limit the time that the kids are in there, because we can't be paying for medical providers to be in a clinic and not be doing any services to kids. And so lots of times schools will make arrangements. You can't have them more than 30 minutes, or you can't pull them from testing days, or you can't pull them. So the school health centers traditionally create a plan about how you're going to get the kids into the school health center without actually jeopardizing the sustainability of the school health center. Does that make sense?
One of the things that we've been doing with wellness is struggling with this from the time that we started having counselors, mental health counselors on campus, because we've always had to talk to teachers, the principals, find out what's best, how to schedule different things, because we have a number of counselors on campus. So we have a robust relationship with our academic partners so that they can tell us, don't do this, do this, this is a testing time, this is not good. And the other thing that we try to do is work with them and the behavioral health people to let people know that that whether they come to wellness for counseling or whether they come for medical help, this is not a hangout joint. This is not something that you can come to because you're mad at the teacher or you decided that, ooh, forgot that testing time, and you don't want to, so we communicate. One of the things that we've been talking about is communicating back and forth with the teachers to really find out how do we get this student here. Is Johnny supposed to be here, or is he supposed to be in Miss whatchamacallit's class? So we are still looking at all of that, but we have been doing that and talking to teachers about it. So we do not take children out of all of their academic courses because they may have some kind of pain, whether they like it or not.
Yeah, and the research has shown that school health centers actually save time because they can diagnose and send kids back to class, where schools with only school nurses have to send the kids home because they can't actually diagnose whether or not they're healthy enough to go back to class. So there's pretty extensive research on it.
Mr. Affill.
So is there going to be a doctor on site or basically just the nurse or the?
It's a nurse practitioner who
Nurse
can diagnose and
practitioner.
treat and works under doctor's standing orders.
Okay. Is there ever a doctor that will be called out to? It's basically the expectation, normal course of business, nurse practitioner.
Yeah, nurse practitioner. If there is any sort of an emergency that goes beyond what that provider can address, then we will work with the school, we'll work with the parents. If the child has to go to the hospital, we will the nurse practitioner will work with them to make sure that that happens.
Yeah,
It has-
they do have a doctor on call all the time
Right.
for consulting.
Yes.
All nurse practitioners do.
Yeah.
It's just the model is more
Right,
affordable.
well, it hasn't happened often, but it has happened. We've had broken bones, kids fall off playthings. Is that something a nurse practitioner would set, or you'd send the
Like,
person,
Our
student
doctors
to the
wouldn't
doctor?
set that either. No one would set that in a school health center. If someone actually broke a bone, they would be sent to the hospital.
Okay.
ER.
And
Um,
how are we advertising or getting these services known among the school community? Because this is new, they're new services, and we
We,
want them utilized.
Oh, definitely. We have, as part of the committee that's been meeting and planning, we've been setting up communication services on how we do this. Lee and Lee has been working with the Student Advisory Board as well as several classes, and so a lot of the students in the high school already know about the School-Based Health Center because they came to the retreat, they gave us survey information, and she's been telling people about, and going with the students to tell them about it. We are going to be sending out notifications. We've had them at a lot of the parent meetings, notification as to what we're doing and how we're doing it, and we're going to be sending that out the first week of school to all the parents, as well as over the summer, we're going to send out some information in August as to the services that we're going to have, as well as the timing of those services. And then the first couple of meetings for the teachers in the beginning of the year, when they're doing their professional development, we will have flyers to give them, information to give them, and we're also going to be working with them to set up our orientation. The other thing is, once you guys have your opening, a couple of weeks or a week or two later, we're going to have an opening for the School-Based Health Center so that we can actually have people come in and tour. We're going to be touring anyway and getting people to come through. We would like to have every class come through and the teachers to say, this is the School-Based Health Center, these are the da-da-da and that and the, but we want to have a formal one based upon just that and opening it up and having people come in and having, hopefully Keith Carson come in and dedicate the room where he put the chairs.
Yeah, oh, yeah, just to let you know, as elected officials, the $98,000 for the chair we were directed or requested by Keith Carson. So if you know him and want to thank him, he's the one that had us come up with the money.
Great.
Great.
Thanks. I have a question about kind of the line between like screening to identify health issues versus treatment. So would there be a case where, how would prescriptions be handled, for example? I know NPs have, within their scope of practice, can write certain kinds of scripts at least. And so if someone gets a prescription, are they on their own in terms of their own health insurance to go get it filled elsewhere? Or just how will that be handled?
Yeah, I mean, what we normally do is we will, if there's a prescription, we'll try to have it prepared at the nearest pharmacy. And according to their
So if they have, whatever their coverage is, the nurse practitioner who can actually prescribe even Schedule 1 and 2 drugs now,
Right.
they have a huge scope of practice. Then you have to look up their insurance to see what is covered under their formulary, and then they write the prescription for that.
Great, thanks.
Other questions? And we'll be back again. We're just here initially to answer some questions that were specifically put to us.
This is exciting. Thank you.
And we're wanting your things and we're gonna figure it out.
Yeah, this is
Yeah,
really
and just
exciting.
finally, we do have a robust evaluation. If you can look at some of our other evaluations, you can go to our website, acehealthyschools.org. It explains the whole school health center and our behavioral health model. We have samples of all our tools, all the forms that they use, our evaluations, and our outcomes.
And if I do say so myself, I attended the retreat that the Lifelong Medical Center and the School-Based Health that they had, and it was definitely very informative in terms of what they will be bringing to the table and what they've done previously. So I'm excited to see what is going to happen for the future as well. Thank you, guys.
No problem. And thank you for indulging us for being here. Thank you, John. Thank you, John and John.
from there, we want to move on to crossing guards?
Yeah, could we please?
Baker's doing, I
Oh,
assume.
perfect.
Mr. Baker, we're going to move to crossing guards for a moment.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yes.
Great, thank you.
5.4.
I just want to ask a couple questions. I appreciate that the city staff asked to put this on the agenda. Back in March of 2015, I had received notice that a group of parents had a meeting at Anna Yates and were asking the question, why doesn't the city provide crossing guards? And had wrote a letter to Mayor Atkin at the time, I think, stating that Albany provides crossing guards, Berkeley provides crossing guards, Oakland provides 49 crossing guards. And I know one of the districts and cities I worked in, of course, San Francisco provides 200 crossing guards for all the schools. And so I was really excited and happy to hear that crossing guards, that there was some momentum for this and that the city was providing for crossing guards. I was in a meeting probably a few months ago with city staff, and then I was alerted to the fact that the city would no longer be providing crossing guards for the school at Anna Yates or going forward at Anna Yates or ECCL. And I wanted to be honest with the city council and the school board members that I was a little disappointed and surprised because I thought it was great that we were like the city of Emeryville, like the other cities around us, were providing crossing guards. There is a traffic management plan that has recommendations in the plan, and one of the recommendations is that we have crossing guards, and I think that's in the best interest, certainly, for our students. And it says in the traffic management plan that the applicant, although it doesn't identify who that is, will provide crossing guards. So I just wanted to provide a little bit of a recap for everybody of where we're at and regarding this issue. My understanding is that the city is not including it going forward in the budget. So that's as much information as I have at the moment.
Carolyn, would you like to speak to that?
Actually, Pedro has provided the background,
Okay.
and so Brad will inform us.
So Dr. Rubio is correct that the city has provided crossing guards for the current school year, and this really was to correct an immediate safety need that we had in the community. The reason that the funding for these crossing guards was not provided for in the new fiscal year that we're now in is because the traffic management plan that Dr. Rubio mentioned, it states that the school district would be providing these crossing guards. So the reason that the city asked that this item be placed on the agenda is to make sure that both bodies are aware of that and that we're ready to pass the baton on to the school district. And we're willing to assist that transition in whatever way we can.
From my recollection, we're required to provide them, it's not just us, but it's one of the conditions of the agreement, is it not?
And Mr. Baker, you may know about these conditions also. So I guess that's the part that's throwing me off a little bit is that it doesn't say the school district in the traffic management plan, actually. It says the applicant will provide crossing guards. The whole document was a little bit vague to me in a way because it's a recommendation that there will be crossing guards or parent volunteers. And then at the end it says on the back page, the applicant will provide crossing guards. So I think the school district would agree. We want to have as much safety and supervision as possible. We previously had an employee who would spend, probably 20 minutes, I would imagine, at the end of school. We have staff who usually would be outside of school in the morning and after school as well. So I don't think we have any disagreement about the importance of it. I'm not sure that there's clarity from the traffic management plan at all for me as I reviewed it and had legal review it. And so I was honestly just thrown off a little bit by it because I didn't know the city staff at one point referred to it as an experiment, and I had no idea it was an experiment. So, I appreciate, again, that the city did this year. I was hoping that, like other cities around us, that the city would be continuing to provide that. If the will of the board and council is that it's otherwise, and I just need clarity on that.
Carolyn, have we had our council review the traffic management plan?
Oh.
On
Yes,
behalf of
I
the
think
city?
that Yes, I think that would have been done, you're saying at the application?
The applicant is what Dr. Rubio is
Yeah.
saying, and
Who
but
would
so
be,
what
who
is our-
would be the school district, right?
Not that
No.
I'm aware of, no.
So I would love to have just a confirmation from our city attorney that that's how we're reading the document.
Well, that, and then the bottom line is how, in fact, will it be provided?
Mhm.
But I can tell you that it was the understanding of city staff that it was discontinuing. And when we went through the budget process, that was all discussed, explained to me that this was to be phased out. And it is a $25,000 line item that, that is not in our budget, with the understanding that whatever we were providing before was a temporary arrangement, and that the school district would have been aware of it. I honestly, I think they thought that the school district was aware. Are you able to provide any further clarity, Brad? I mean, about that?
Well, the only thing I can say is that my understanding is that the traffic management plan was approved by both bodies, but I could be mistaken about that.
I don't ever remember a traffic management plan coming before us.
No, no.
It wasn't part of the multi-document MOU or, yeah.
No, in fact, the JOA was signed in August of
JOA.
2014. This traffic management plan was drafted in October after we signed the JOA.
And it's a city council document? It's supposed to be a joint
I think
agency document? And I'm
John,
really not familiar
Mr. Baker
with-
knows why it came up. I think originally another entity wanted it from the city.
The only involvement we've had with the traffic management plan is that Caltrans required that the city approve a traffic management plan, a traffic demand management plan, in order for the Caltrans to grant an encroachment permit for us to do the work in the Caltrans right-of-way. City planning required that the city approve that plan in writing. So the city approved it in writing. The city planning, the district approved it in writing. The city planning approved it in writing and forwarded it to Caltrans, which we had to get that to get our encroachment permit. The language in the traffic management plan, which is common in most of the plans, it says the applicant shall provide crossing guard services. So that's all it says. I'm not sure who that is, but that's the background that we've had with this plan.
Wasn't
But
the applicant
that's very
the-
important, because the definition of the applicant, the city is the one that wanted to work with Caltrans to get the right-of-way, right?
Yes. I think that's correct.
Oh, I think we should have the city attorney and your attorneys look into this, get a definitive description of who is the applicant.
Yeah.
And then work from there. Let's get the foundation right first.
Right.
And then work from there forward. It's very clear with the amount of traffic there is on San Pablo Avenue,
Right.
that we definitely have to have a crossing guard situation. But let's go back and re-look at the documents, see what the foundation is, and move forward from that.
Okay.
Does everybody agree with
I
that?
think
I
that
agree
makes sense.
I just want to add one thing, which is, at the Alameda County Transportation Commission, the discussion of crossing guards has come up quite a bit. I was unfamiliar that any other city was actually shouldering the direct expense, because we were looking at Safe Routes to Schools money to be able to pay for that service, and that's prohibited under that
Right. That's
under that funding mechanism.
That's correct. I think the cities all around us, every city, it looks like around us, uses their city budget to provide it for the schools. That's
So-
my understanding.
So when we were looking for external funding, we can't use Safe Routes to Schools.
So I'm worried that it's not just one, but two crossing guards, because there are two major streets. And I guess the question
Which
is,
streets are you talking about, Chris?
so there's both sides of the school. There's two sides of the school, and kids are going to be going in both directions. They're not going to be crossing San Pablo at just one point. So
47th and 53rd.
yeah.
That's correct.
So-
We did get notes, summary notes from Ms. Montero back in October of 2015 from a program committee meeting, an operations meeting, probably one of the first ones that, and actually said city budget in there, but they actually said 3 crossing guards. And I think the idea originally was either based on the layout of Anna Yates or based on 2 intersections at San Pablo and possibly I don't know, that's cross street where ECDC is. Boyer. So what I've seen in writing from meetings in the past has been 3 crossing guards potentially from the city budget.
So can you make sure that our budget is able to absorb that if we need to?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I know we don't meet till the end of August, so.
Just clarification. You mean just to make sure that we can identify funding somehow for the
I think it's very poor form if we open without crossing guards, and I'm not hearing that the city's going to be providing them, so I want to make sure that we're able to.
Okay. Understood. I think I understand. Did you want to?
Well, just, at least as an interim solution, there should be some warm bodies out there when school starts, and we can figure out the financing as we're going forward. But
Okay, it seems like we've resolved what we can of 5.4. Are there any other needs for adjusting our agenda?
I think the last one, I apologize for the second request, is that Mr. Baker would like to attempt to do 5.2 and 5.5 back to back. Is that correct?
Any objections?
No.
no.
Thank you. I have photographs of the area in question here, which is why I thought it would be good to combine them. This is the city schools update. I'll be brief. Again, the map showing where buildings A, B, C, D, and E are. I'm hopeful that the group is familiar with which buildings are where now. Our update is things are moving very quickly. The pool is operational, and the public has been for a few weeks. Community building A is 100% complete outside and 95% complete inside. Admin building B is 100% complete outside and 95% complete also inside. The K-8 school is almost done outside, and interior finishes are 90% complete. High school exterior is 95% complete. The canopy roof is remaining, and the interior now 100% complete. Our low voltage data network installation in progress. This is the hot item right now, is to get all the technology installed in the buildings. Site concrete is just starting in progress. The big push for the last few weeks is going to be all concrete pouring of the sidewalks and retaining walls and planters. That's really what our focus is going to be. The site sand wall is completed along Emeryville Village. The fence and field, the fencing is complete. Field is in progress. The canopies and a community canvas structure, which is where the banner issue is in progress. Fencing and landscaping will commence this month. Over the next 4 weeks, what we're going to see is about 2 or 3 weeks of concrete. The buildings are really substantially complete now, but we need that concrete to access them for code. Our elevator inspection is the 20th of July. Our final inspection by the IORs is July 24th. And so we're in good shape for substantial completion July 25th. This is when you can actually occupy the building, when people can work inside the buildings, even while there may be construction activity complete. Again, substantial completion means they're completed for intended use. Critically, the Division of State Architect determines this, and the inspectors of record determine this, but they are on board right now for that July 25th date for all of the buildings. Final completion September 1st is all of the contract documentation, punch list, all that kind of good stuff. That's the current contract date. Building A is complete outside. You'll see that we've got finished grading there. In the next couple weeks, the base rock and sidewalks will be poured there. The new sidewalks at the other 3 corners of 53rd and San Pablo are all poured and complete now. And the new crosswalk signals that say don't walk are in also. Again, you'll see building A, we showed this earlier, that's the entry. Building B, that's the entry on the other side. This is the lobby with the architectural wood ceiling in B. There's some painting remaining here. The interiors are really pretty much complete. We have all that paper you see as temporary protection, so we can move workers and furniture can be moved in without messing up the floor. That's one of the exam rooms at the student bay at the health center on the right-hand side. That's the reception desk of the health center. This is looking across B towards D and C. All that really remains outside here are you can see in the distance in the center some posts. This is actually about 2 weeks old. The roof framing for the canopy is in now, and that'll be complete in about 2 weeks. The community wall, which is to the post to the right, I'll show a rendering of that. That's actually more complete than this photo, but the banners in question could be placed between the two horizontal members that you see on that far right post sticking out. A banner can be applied there. There are 10 of these posts, and the idea of the banners is so that for the opening, ribbon cutting, we could have banners with graphics or logos or information on those posts. We'd want to order those now so we can get those in production. So that's the banner idea. And I'll show you a rendering of what those look like later on in this discussion. This is the Building D high school deck. Again, the canopy roof, the framing's now in where you see those posts up, but all this work is complete. Below the deck, we're getting ready to pour concrete there, the concrete sidewalk. All that stuff has been cleaned up now. Inside, here's the library, all complete. We've got protection down on the floor and the casework, so again, things don't get dinged up. The only real activity in Building D right now is just doing the data tele-install. So that's the cables you see hanging from the ceiling, and so the IT, putting the IT networks in. Same thing, the labs are complete. We're just putting, we'll be moving furniture in and then completing the cabling. Classroom, you can see the cabling hanging from the ceiling. That's really the work that's going on now with protection over the floor. Another high school, you can see we've got still got protection on the lamps. We're trying to keep much of that in so things don't get damaged when we complete the work and move in. The graphics on Building C are now complete. That exterior is complete. And at the bottom of this photograph, you'll see formwork for sidewalk. That sidewalk pour actually is going to take place on Friday. So all that concrete at the base of that will take place Friday. In Building C, where the tremendous progress has been made, given that we had the steel delay. The casework is complete on Buildings 1 and 2. This is a lab. This is a middle school lab that shows that casework pretty much complete. There's more casework that's in the support space for the labs. This is the casework. There's a couple of student seating areas, gathering areas. This is on the middle school floor where students can sit on those steps and kind of gather. There's a couple of these little nodes where they can kind of hang out, and they're all finished in the wood. They really look terrific. Multi-purpose room, all we have left to do here is to put the ceiling tiles in and do the flooring. The kitchen equipment is all in. They're busy this week kind of installing and making connections in the kitchen. The gym, of course, was completed about 6 months ago, as is the fitness room has been completed for a few months. The pool has been operational for about a month now, about 4 weeks now. And then all the exterior work. This is our big push right now, is finishing. This is showing the concrete wall at the play area. In the distance, you can see the field. The paving is now completed on site. We're running out of room on site, so now we're actually congregating on the paving. This is where the basketball courts go. So about the last thing we'll do is once it comes off is we'll we'll pull these things off, and then clean this up and do striping. And then the field is the finished grading finished today. So in the next 5 days, they'll put down the drain board. After that, they'll put down the fabric and the turf and infill, and the field will be complete in about 2.5 weeks. In terms of move-in operations maintenance, we have the move-out at Santa Fe School was completed on the 20th. Furniture purchasing and deliveries in progress. All the furniture for the high school has been moved into the high school. Security, AV, data, telecom, all that technology and installations in progress. Move planning coordination is now underway for Anna Yates. That move is actually now planned, and district and city offices. The idea is to have all those moves complete for occupancy on August 8th for district and city offices, and the 15th for teachers, with the first day of school. The 18th for teachers, and the first day of school on the 25th, I think it is. Building Systems Commission training. We've started our commission activities with our commissioning agent, and that's all the startup and training. We have monthly programming, operations, and maintenance meetings. Those are continuing. And where there's a big focus on site safety and security. The City Schools Group was concerned about security, that we actually have furniture and technology on site. All the buildings are locked up at night. All of the equipment is in locked rooms inside the locked buildings. We're very cognizant of that. We're exploring additional security options in addition to what Turner already has on site. We're working closely with Emeryville PD. Now we have been for the last about 4 weeks. They're making site visits throughout the day, especially when there's no construction activity on site. And that's the update for this month. I do want to talk about the banners. There's a rendering here that shows the banners right here. And if you can see those red and purple, and then it drops down and is lower towards the other part of the commons. There's banners that can be placed on that community commons. The horizontal face of it going this way is intended for art displays or other graphics. But at our weekly meeting between the city and the district, we talked about perhaps getting some banners ordered for those vertical pieces for the ribbon cutting for the opening.
Mr. Baker,
Oh, sure.
he has some other renderings that might be a little bit better for the group.
So the green areas here are the community canvas, and then there's some smaller ones on this end. Towards the left is towards building D, and towards the right is towards building A. So the green ones are 18 feet wide each, and we're up kind of getting into the other section on the agenda, so I hope that's okay. So there's some opportunity here also to talk about what kind of content we want to put on these banners.
Brad, can you show one of the other pictures you showed
Sure.
to me this morning? That's what I was thinking of, actually. Just the A and the B. So that would be one.
This is a sample of one of the ones on the community canvas. And then in addition to this, there's also a number of banners on the outside of the building that are going to be visible from San Pablo Avenue. And I'll show you those in just a second.
That's also in the interior, right? The K-5 play area.
I think these are on the, oh, okay, I'm sorry. So these are similar to vertical banners that you might see around the city. I think they're 3 feet wide, 5 feet tall.
And are these, are we talking about temporary banners for an opening? Or are we talking about more long-term?
Both.
I mean, we have the opportunity to do either or.
Mm-hmm.
I think it makes sense for some of them to highlight upcoming events, whereas one of the thoughts that we had was that some of the community canvas ones, that was some of the green ones that you saw earlier, perhaps it could be artwork or murals that are produced by the students.
And I think the idea tonight was just to get some just quick general ideas. We wouldn't probably be bringing this back again, but any large main ideas from the group, if you have any. I was thinking this morning when talking to city staff that maybe we could do blue and yellow, offsetting maybe with the city logo and the district logos on them, so we get the school colors and the city logo and the district logo.
I hope when you're working with the banners that you take advantage of Sharon Wilshire, who has run the banner program for the art committee for at least 20 years. And they have finally found a fabric that stands up very well to this very difficult marine environment. So for your permanent banners especially, you might want to sit down and talk to her, get her knowledge, because she has very intimate knowledge of banners and how they work in this city. And of course, she also has the art experience. But it's the fabric content that's probably going to be important for long-term banners.
Yeah, that's an excellent suggestion. We'll definitely contact Sharon.
She's available, and
Right.
she's been there, done that. Why not use it?
And then the color scheme as well. I know that we've had several discussions about how the outer will be presented to the public. It is very colorful. And so if we were to do something along the lines of blue and gold, that'll definitely throw off the color scheme. So if we can try to stick with, I think there's 3 colors that they've been using for the building, kind of keep that in the format so that we don't look like a huge rainbow effect. That would be nice.
This is an odd request, perhaps. Certain things about education are remarkable. They take your brain and they move it to a new place. There are certain symbols that have plagued our and glorified our minds for years, like the infinity symbol. The concept of infinity is something that, as a youth, I bumped into. You know, if we could have something on the banners that harkens to elemental educational experience, that's my suggestion. You know, the things that come to mind to me tend to be a little bit mathematical because they just first caught my imagination. Pi is a remarkable number. Infinity is an amazing concept, but you know, we have other possible ideas. So not just boosterism, but things that are oddly academic, appropriate to the site, and I think that the general public would also like it.
Or we could even do a contest, an art contest, for those artists out there in the community, the schools, like the students. They can have voted on a contest, and it can be, you know, if we're doing it for long term, it can be something on a material that'll withstand the conditions, weather conditions that we have. Or if there's public artists in the community, they can also, you know, try to submit some ideas if we were to have like a community-wide and school-wide contest, to throw that out there.
No, I appreciate the suggestions.
My understanding, or at least what I've heard mentioned, was that this community canvas would be almost sort of a rotating, over time, exhibit space for students and community members. And so some of them might be projects that would come out of art, some of them might be our local artists. Yes, so I like that idea, and you know, I like almost I guess bristle at the notion that any of this would be permanent. You know, permanent a year or two, okay, but you know, forever, like I don't think so.
Just a clarification for Mr. Baker. Mr. Baker, is there another section for the canvas, the community canvas, or is that the same thing? I thought the community canvas was a separate area than these banners. I just want to make sure everybody's, because I'm actually not clear. Just
No, actually, the community canvas, the other photograph, I don't know which image that is.
The green one we saw earlier.
The community canvas is a structure that has both horizontal and then perpendicular steel members. And that's what you see here. It's going to be painted before it's complete. They're going to probably paint this in the next couple
But
weeks.
that is separate from the banners that we're talking
Well, it's
about.
the same structure.
Same structure,
The
but-
banners are perpendicular to the canvas itself.
Oh, I see.
Seemed like the green one before was
This
was
particular
that
ones, yeah.
to the right
might be
there
some
was
on the
flush.
outside of the school, but most of them, I think, are interior.
I just have one comment that any banners on the interior, I think it would be strange to be having the EOSD or the city logos on the interior. I think folks will know where they are by the time they've made it into the courtyard.
This image shows the canvas, the entire structure is called the canvas. There's a horizontal, more of a canvas, more of a larger piece that you'll see in the center of the photo with some images on it. And you'll see those vertical banners, which are perpendicular to the kind of canvas itself. There's ones that go this way, and then ones that go perpendicular to that. Does that make sense?
That certainly has the potential for a very lively space, not a dead space. It's a great idea.
I'd like to second Member Collins' recommendation to get students involved. I think it'd be a great way for them to take ownership over that space.
Do you guys need something before September 1st, or do we need, because I think there's two things, there's long-term and there's short-term. So we need to give you something for September 1st, if I'm not
Correct.
mistaken.
That's correct.
So,
That's the idea.
and I just can't help but think, while they know where
House
they are.
Baratheon.
I was going to go hashtag ECCL, but okay.
Slytherin.
The winter
I'm
is
a
coming.
Hufflepuff, and I won't take otherwise from you.
I guess I'm a little contrarian, which is that unless a banner program, I'd rather just see a banner program fully developed with the students or whatever, and if those are left hanging on September 1, I'm not that upset about it, because I don't want to rush it just to have something hanging there.
And I think long-term, or short-term, or as we go along, we might strive for something, a combination of, when you think of the vertical ones, as more symbolic of the types of things that our visions and are contain the character development, symbols of math, but then the ones that are going horizontal are a great place for some student artwork. So we might endeavor to do both, I think, unless there's opposition to that.
No, both is fine.
No. But at a minimum, I mean, it seems like an opportunity to at least have a couple of banners around the opening in September 1, if that's, if that's designable, or, but that would be a very short term, not the long term.
Are there banners that we can just have fabricated with nothing on them, with the potential to add something later, and we could just have those in place?
One color.
Yeah, one idea was just to do simple colored banners in the blue and yellow of the district and the blue and green of the city, just as to show, just to demonstrate how the canvas can be used, and then to also enliven the space during the opening for the ribbon cutting.
You could have the way that we sort of sign the steel posts at the topping off ceremony. You could have people who come to the opening sign a banner and hoist it.
They'll be
For a month.
unreachable, won't they?
Well, that's why you
They'll be unreachable, won't they?
you don't have it attached. You sign it on the ground and then
They pull them up.
pull them up.
That could be done. I don't know if you could install them that day, but that certainly is an interesting idea.
Just for a temporary sort of thing.
I think we have some good ideas. Yeah. Thank you.
I guess we have 5.3 left. Is that correct?
And 6.
And 6.
Oh, yes. Okay, so 5.3, ribbon cutting ceremony.
So this item was intended just to remind everyone that the ribbon cutting ceremony is going to be held Thursday, September 1st at 10 a.m. Since the ribbon cutting ceremony is going to be held during school hours, much of the facility will not be available to tour during that time, since classes will be held in session, which is why, in addition to that, there's also going to be an open house the following day on Friday, September 2nd from 4 to 6 p.m., and that's when the public will be able to come out and explore the facility and get to know what their Measure J dollars have gone to.
Any discussion?
Can I ask that for the ribbon cutting, that at least the student council be present? For the groundbreaking, there was no students involved at all. So I do ask that, although it is during school hours, that at least some of the faculty, staff, and students are involved and
Do
present.
you have a program drafted yet for that day?
These are things that we're working on now. In fact, we are planning we're just planning the basic outline with the idea that we would be also, of course, bringing it back for approval, circulating it for approval, but I don't know how.
I have a question. What is the rationale for having 2 separate meetings? Is it that we all love meetings? Why would we not have the ribbon cutting right before the open house? Why are we having 2 separate things? I mean, we have staff that are under enormous pressure here, that are working on, just a wide variety of things, and to have two events, one right after the other, when you could have the ribbon cutting right prior to the opening,
Yeah.
the open house.
I wonder that
I don't
myself, too.
understand that logic.
I believe the logic that was intended was that there are a number of local politicians for whom 10 a.m. is a workable time, and that we wanted to make sure they were included, and that there are a number of parents who are working at that time. And so my belief, and correct me if I'm wrong, at the time when we originally came out with the 2 times, was for that purpose, because we wanted to make it workable for the dedication for those of us who are available at 10 a.m. And also a time when parents and the community would also be available, and we thought this was a workable solution.
Well, my own opinion is it's a duplication of effort, and it seems like the real intent is to get the state politicians here at 10 a.m., and if they're really interested in this magnificent project, they'd probably be here at 4 p.m. That's my thoughts on it.
I agree with
Listen, you
you,
guys are
Nora.
under so much pressure. You have so many irons in the fire. To put on 2 of these events just does not make sense to me.
Yeah, I agree with you.
What's the school board think about this?
Well, I'm not as fired up about it as you are, Nora, but I
Well-
agree with your logic, and, I think if the state folks, I wouldn't do it just for the state folks, and
We
they can
have
be
a-
here at
yeah,
4.
we have a marvelous staff here.
I
We're
think it's
loading
our
them up with stuff.
Congresswoman, Barbara Lee, might have been
And-
one person who was only available on the early time on September 1st.
Talk about tail wagging the door. Give me a break.
Well,
I don't see it.
this has to do with, I think, expressing appreciation to the legislators who made it possible by taking this matter up and creating the legislation that made this whole program feasible. It required special effort on their part, and we have a unique outcome as a
That is
result
their
and
job.
benefit.
Have you polled these folks, and they can't make Friday at 4? We
Yes,
know
they've
that?
been polled.
Uh-huh.
While I agree with the sentiment and I do understand the pressures of time, I think the added benefit of doing the double rollout is that at this point, we need as much publicity for the ECCL as we can generate. We should be at this, having an open house every week, just to make sure that the word is out there and we get what we need, because the buildings need to be filled. And so by doing this double event and getting the maximum possible people there, not that I think we'll get bang for the buck, but that I hope is the intent, is that we get the,
Are we having media come?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
That-
the other
I-
intent.
I don't think
That-
media would come to just our
No,
community
open
open house if,
Correct.
if certain
Yeah,
folks weren't
4
there.
o'clock on a Friday is not a good media time.
No.
Yeah.
This should be a very
We want Thursday prime time.
prominent
Yeah.
media event.
Okay, you've persuaded me, 2 events.
You guys.
Can you
Let's be realistic. Media means about a half a minute on Channel 4 or 5, if you're lucky.
Hey, if that gets us a
Half a
couple
minute
more
would be
students,
good.
Probably
I'll-
print media.
Half a minute would be
Yeah,
a lot.
get those
Blogs.
couple of students.
We need butts and seats, so.
Can you
Or
say,
dental chairs.
Dr. Rubio
Standing desks, yeah.
and Carolyn, can you say a little more about the communications plan or planning? You've got some
Um,
media ideas?
Yeah. Frankly, I don't know that we have do you have the outline with you?
No, I don't.
We did have a special meeting, though, with the marketing.
I know that
Firm.
Cindy Montero has been working on this, and I plan on starting to work with her, and I know Pedro is as well. We have the senior center ribbon cutting that's tomorrow,
I see
and
that.
we've been deep into planning that. So we're kind of, at least me personally, I'm kind of taking one ribbon cutting at a time.
Mhm.
Well, do we have any plans to do a press release?
Yes.
Okay, are we
Everybody's
resolved
settled.
that it's 2 openings?
We are.
Seeing no objections? Let's move on to 5.6.
We're doing the soft as well.
Actually, part of the opening we've talked about was tours for the community and making it available. Do we have anything firmed up more about that, and schedule and notice to folks?
I don't yet, to be honest with you. We're hitting a number of small glitches in terms of the transition from this building to the new building that have really impacted us in the last 6 days with AT&T. And so unfortunately, we've been wrapped up in some of these logistical things that are pretty, unfortunately, critical. And they affect everything, including the elevators being connected and fire alarms, which would delay the whole project if they're not. So no, to answer your question, no. But I do recall you wanted to see, there was a request to see open houses beforehand and parents being able to come. So we'll go ahead and work on that. Appreciate the reminder.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, amplified sound systems. I guess this is for Mr. Baker. Are the sound systems in the school going to be working and satisfactorily enabling our public spaces to function?
I'm not certain if this agenda item was about that. Is that the question?
Yes.
There are the two sound systems that I'm aware of are the PA system in the gym, which has been being used for several months, and also the overall PA system inside the buildings. There's a portable sound system that is purchased so it can be moved around the site and used in the gym as well as in the community commons. And that's the scope that's included in the project at the current time.
Okay, and I guess the PA system that is for the full school is a separate system than what is a part of the gym system. Is that correct?
That is correct.
During the elementary school graduation, the sound quality was so terrible, and I'm wondering if that was the gym sound system or the temporary or the portable system.
My understanding, that was the portable system that was being used for that event. That's what, according to discussing with the district.
Okay.
And John, if I could add to that, I think that the system that was used that day wasn't even the system that was purchased for ECCL. I think that was something that the Annie Yates staff had brought on site.
Okay.
So the system that is in place, the house system inside the gym, was not used for that event.
Okay.
And the house system, which is used, is right now being managed by the city because it's used primarily in the gym for city activities. So that sounds like that could be what occurred.
Was the built-in system used for the basketball games this year?
I believe it was, yes.
Because that system worked really well.
Yeah.
I mean, there was when they would announce the players and the things.
Mhm.
It wasn't perfect, but I've heard about the graduation, and it was, when I was at the basketball games, the system that was built in was reasonable.
Okay.
So.
I have nothing further to say about that. Does anybody else want to talk about that?
Nope.
I think we might be done with this meeting.
Future agenda items?
The future agenda items, I think, have been specified to the August meeting. Isn't that correct?
Right.
And I'd like to make sure we talk about the communications rollout at August as well.
If you'd like, since that's quite a ways off,
Sure.
I was just commenting to Brad that I thought once we print out that schedule of all of the steps that we're taking to promote these events and the grand opening, if it's all right with everybody, I'd like to just release that as soon as we put that together and just send it out to all of you individually.
I think that'd be great.
That'd be great. We'd really appreciate that. And let's just have a placeholder, I would request, on the meeting agenda so we can check in on that.
I would think the 18th should be all about the opening.
So speaking of the next meeting, Pedro asked me to confirm that we're going to have an available quorum for that meeting. So I just wanted to confirm everyone's availability.
Planning to be here.
Yep.
Yes, unless I get stuck on a plane in LA, which is unlikely, I'll be here.
Lots of planes from LA to here.
Exactly.
Just rent a car.
Do we need,
And-
do we need to start it at 5:45? Because regularly people are not on time.
seems like a good suggestion. We should just start that meeting at 5:45. Seems like when we can get a quorum. It's not 5:30.
Yeah, we don't have a quorum at 5:30.
Does the board need to take any action to just make that an ongoing time change?
Yes, we would.
So moved.
I second.
Okay.
Opposed?
Unanimous.
Yes.
Additionally, I'd like to point out that the next regularly scheduled meeting is scheduled for September 1st, which is the same day as our ribbon cutting ceremony.
Oh, we can meet 3 times.
We can decide that at the 18th.
We must cancel that meeting.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, announcements, member comments.
Sorry.
Seeing none, adjourn.
There you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.